It's safe to say that if you're even remotely serious about Counter-Strike, you're playing in an aspect ratio that's, well, wide. Whether you're repping 4-3, 16-10, or even 5-4, you know that you can't call yourself an edgy CSGO eGamer unless you're stretching that screen.
Resolution I play in game is 1152 by 864, and I play stretched.
Resolution I'm playing in CSGO right now is 1280 versus 960, using it stretched.
I use 128 for 960.
Black Ops or?
No, stretched.
And when you think about it, why wouldn't you give your resolution a good old tug? Bigger bodies, better spray control, crispier movement, and a cleaner, more succinct crosshair gap. But what initially started as a haphazard way to squeeze frames out of a crummy PC has since become a standard. One that virtually every mid to high level headpopper in the whole of Global Offensive follows.
When I play League or I play Warzone or whatever it is, even World of Warcraft, I play full HD. I don't really care about it. But somehow the myth stays in CSGO, where everyone uses for free. And if you don't use for free, you're made fun of.
In fact, over the course of Global Offensive's decade-long lifespan, there have been very few self-respecting Tier 1 pros who've even entertained the idea of running 16-9. That is, unless you're CSGO's native son. I introduce to you the skull-popping prodigy, ropz Kool, a supremely talented Estonian rifler whose incredible journey from proclaimed cheater to world-class talent taught him that if he was gonna make his mark on the game he loved, he'd need to do it on his own terms.
A bomb plant is available to ropz at a bare minimum, and that's something for mousesports to work with. He's retrieved an M4. Don't think it's got any ammo left in it, so he's got to get this done with the Deagle, and he does find the first man in. He's just checked, and yeah, definitely another for ropz, and the Deagle might be all it takes. ropz! What in good name is that?
I'm going down.
Highest kills statistically and nice reactions. The 2 kills ropz has found so far, I think he's fired 3 bullets. And there's a 4th. Wow. Oh my god, he is looking robotic. He gracefully executes another.
You see, in addition to his stellar rifling, dank-ass deagling, and just generally being one of the best Counter-Strike competitors alive, ropz is known for something else. Something odd. Something that shouldn't be weird, but for better or for worse, is. He runs his game in the resolution in which it was meant to be played.
It's fun to be this guy that is only using 16:9 in the world, in top level CS. I'm not sure if I am the only one. There might be some more, but I actually never looked into it. But if I really am, then I mean, yeah, it's fun. It's memes. Gives you some pretty random exposure at times, like this.
Okay, so what is this weird obsession with stretched? Was it by chance or design that ropz became the poster boy of 16-9? And what might his deviation from the norm spell for future generations of Counter-Strike enthusiasts?
Get some fresh meat out of it. ropz is gonna be that worst 2 found, 3rd, and 4th spray control perfectioned, and an ace in a matter of seconds.
Okay, so first things first. What in the hell are stretched resolutions, and how did the CS community become certifiably obsessed with them? Well, you may not know this, but as with a lot of things in Global Offensive, stretched actually got its start because of Get Right. You see, back when CSGO first came out, it was common for professional players to play in 4-3, since it made the game feel more like 1.6. And because it offered the one thing that all CS players crave: frames. The problem is that when you play in a reduced resolution, you get black bars. So in an effort to make full use of his monitor, Get Right full screened it.
I remember me and Fry were sitting on a tournament called ESWC back then. The monitors back then was like 75 hertz on the tournament. It wasn't used to stand at like 120 or 2040 like it is nowadays. I remember I played with Stretch time to time in 1.6. I talked to Friber a lot with it, and I think me and him changed directly to Stretch on that tournament because it felt more smoother and it felt like you have more control when you're moving around and where you can spray around with it.
Now, in addition to making the game feel better, Get Right discovered that in some ways, it also made it easier to play.
But then I also noticed more and more, it felt like the models itself became more fatter in a way, or like more dragged out. You feel like you can hit them more easier, and you can actually feel the sprays itself, it was like actually hitting more and more.
Now, it's no secret that in the early days of CSGO, Get Right and Nip were literal juggernauts. And after going on an 87-0 map run on LAN, people began to take notice of what the steamrolling Swedes were doing differently. So in an effort to beat the best, they did the one thing that to this day is scientifically guaranteed to make you as good as the pros. Copy their config.
Last on ramp.
Simple settings. Simple settings.
Stop copying those from me.
Simple settings. Copying pro settings really do make you better, chat. I am literally living proof that if you copy somebody else's settings one for one, you can be whatever you want to be. I am now simple.
Anyway, before long, Stretched had cemented itself as the go-to aspect ratio for sweaty tryhards everywhere. Sure, it warped the game beyond recognition, and yes, it made your skins look like ass. But if you were a real one, it didn't matter, since as far as anyone could tell, it offered a competitive advantage. Before long, people were scavenging YouTube for tutorials, such as Nick Bunyan's, on the advantages of Stretched, how to run it, and whether it actually made you a better player.
This is 16:9, this is 4:3, this is 1920 by 1080, this is 1280 by 960. If we zoom on the 1080p and we put a pink box around the character model, and then we go to the stretched and we put a green box around the character model, and then we morph these photos, we'll notice that there is a bit of an advantage to having it stretched because you are shooting at a slightly fatter target.
And sure, there were a handful of holdouts, but they were few and far between when compared to the sea of screen-stretching superstars who had demonstrated its superiority by reaching incredible heights. Hell, it even wormed its way into other shooters, like Siege, and yes, even Fortnite. But, as with all rules, there had to be an exception. And this one came out of nowhere.
Later on, it's like Cold Sierra, Simple and Forest. But it's pretty cool. There's so many professional now they still use it and taking it on, except ropz.
Okay, so if you know anything about Counter-Strike, you've at least heard of ropz, whose rise through Face It Pro League was so sudden and unprecedented that it incited not only the ire of established pros, but a flurry of actual cheating allegations.
Obviously, like all the cheating allegations and stuff like that, those were pretty rough on me because those are the people I tried to look up to, and I tried to become one of them, and then they kind of went against me.
But in spite of the abuse he suffered from some of his peers, ropz chose to silence them by taking his online ass whoopings and bringing them over to LAN.
The Mulett comes back, and that's going to keep him at bay, as now the defuse is trying to be stuck here. They re-tap it again, a flash once more, and ropz peeks, drops them both, and mousesports win the round.
Well meant to be. ropz should find a few frags here. There's 3. That's quite nice.
4 in total, and the ace.
Yeah.
Taking 2 of his own, and it's looking quite smooth here. Deagle, though, from ropz, and all of a sudden, this becomes doable. AK collected, easy frag there, catching rain as he jumps up. Now it's just down to Alu. The flick from ropz there. Great clutch, 4 frags for him in the round.
Now, in addition to rising above his detractors and overcoming tremendous personal loss, as soon as ropz took to the world stage in 2017, he became pretty much the only truly top-level competitor in all of CSGO to play in 16:9. So how did he start using 16:9 in the first place? Well, I'll tell you this, it wasn't because he was some scrub who didn't know any better. You see, in spite of his young age, ropz was a true OG 1.6er. Like, he thought CSGO was for Zoomers.
I didn't even know CSGO was a thing until like 2014 because I stopped playing 1.6 like when it died out, like around 2012. It was a hobby in the start, and I didn't really play anything serious even in 1.6. It was like pub servers and yeah, KG.
Back then, ropz, like everyone, was playing 4-3 stretched because of hardware limitations. But once he upgraded his rig, he became a true 16x9 boy. What's interesting about all of this is that it isn't just cosmetic. Yes, 16.9 does make your skins look better, but just as one-tappers and one-diggers swear that stretched gives them that added advantage, ropz's proclivity towards native both suits and enables his anchory playstyle.
69 feels a little bit slower, and I think that suits ropz playstyle because he's not a hardcore lurker. It's more a methodical and like really look into the opening. I always find the right spots to help his team out.
Personally, if you ask me why would I pick 16x9, then I think it's just logic, because why would you pick a resolution that's small, but the other one is literally giving you more field of view? I have like a situation every day in my practice maybe that I see a guy that my teammate doesn't. You know, it's very often these things happen.
Oh, they synced up the glass break. That's hot.
That's actually wild, isn't it?
That's so good, and look what it's led to. ropz has no idea! Oh, no!
No.
Oh, ropz, the reaction as is going to be kicking himself. Palm to face.
But I think it's pretty cool that he goes against the trend, use something that suits him and how he got learned the game by himself, instead of like looking on YouTube and seeing, hey, Kool is the best player in 2016. Let's use his resolution and let's use his settings, sensitivity, crosshair, everything, and just go by it, and then becomes like one of the best players in the world. No, ropz uses his own stuff.
Here's the really cool thing though. In the years since ropz's unexpected rise, he's inspired others at the top level to question whether 4-3 is for them.
The models get bigger, so like, unless you play like some ridiculously low sensitivity and have insane aim and like insane crosshair placement like ropz, I think the models being bigger is just easy to shoot, right?
It would be cool if you could go back and force yourself to play on a higher resolution, because there's so many incidents where people have missed so many enemies because he uses like 4-3 resolution.
Bondik might get caught in no man's land here, because he's pushing out with no cover, and Alu's just hiding behind the rock. He'll spot him. Does he see him? Does he see him? 4x3! 4x3! There's no way he didn't see him on the right side.
Ultimately, ropz's resolution isn't just a reflection of who he is as a player. It's also indicative of who he is as a person.
But it works for him, and that's the beauty of his skill and how he raced to the top, where he already got accused by cheating in the beginning. Everyone thought he would never get a chance in the professional scene. He got invited to Mulett, shows off directly that he can perform on LAN and perform against the top levels, and he uses a resolution that no one else is using. It just blows my mind away, and I think a lot of people likes that with him because he sticks out with everything it does.
Now, does that mean we're in for some kind of resolution revolution? Probably not. That being said, we are starting to see more players experiment with 16.9. as well as a few full-blown converts who are hitting shots that just wouldn't be possible otherwise.
Does Twist have a kit? Yes, he does, and a scout.
Oh, here we go.
For the job. Oh, God, I'm not.
Oh!
What?
Oh, that's the badger. That's what you want to see.
With PCs getting more powerful by the day, and games like Valorant literally making it so stretched isn't viable, it's hard to know what the future holds for esports' various native gangs. What we do know is that when all is said and done, your resolution is yours to decide. Whether you stand stretched, have some weird obsession with black bars, fancy yourself a good old 16.9 boy, or just want to f*** your shit up, take a page out of ropz's notebook and just do you. If you want to stand out, don't conform to the trend, buck it. That's how you become great.
Why did everyone use this for free stretch in the beginning? Well, it was because I forced it into everyone, or me and some others did force it into everyone else to use it because those were the best players or the players that everyone looked up to. So I was a trendsetter with some else in the beginning. Now ropz is the trendsetter or using 16.9.
And look, at the end of the day, if a no good normie ass aspect ratio was good enough for an FPLer to become a top 10 player in the world, it's good enough for anyone.
There's no real advantage, obviously, to any resolution, I think. except for the fact that if you play 4x3, you have less field of vision. That's a fact. But outside of that fact, I still think it's like just a personal choice, and I don't think you need to have a stretch resolution to become a pro.
The truth is that there are no god reses, only gods. And ropz, well, no matter what he's playing on, he's one of them.
He's waiting. One more. I'm going behind. Two more. Oh my god, Mulett, too short.
One side.
No. Okay, we need to win now, okay.
Woo. Easy. I feel like we B-roll this? Right? In the world. It's good enough for anyone.